Should you self-improve to get a woman? We hear this kind of idea and concept constantly in the manosphere and self-improvement videos and how to be more attractive videos and how to make more money videos, etc., etc. And invariably, the concept of uh, self-improvement, making more money, getting in better shape, etc., always interacts with getting a woman, always interacts with finding love, right? So you have to ask, what is the motivation? Is the motivation solely just to get a woman, solely to get maybe more dates, more bedroom fun, right? Maybe even love, right? Or is it just to, improve yourself? So I don't think there's anything wrong with accomplishments and self improvement and doing something because you want to win or doing something because you want to gain an experience of being a champion kind of thing. I think that that can be rewarding, and I think that that can be something that is can be a part of the human experience, and something that I think that there's some merit there. I think there's a lot of merit there because it can build your character. It can teach you how to weather losses. It can teach you how to become more humble. But what I see a lot in the manosphere, particularly with regards to this self-improvement stuff, is a lot of underlying fear that if you don't become this successful person, if you don't become this successful alpha type man, that you're a failure and that you're never going to get a woman, never going to get a wife, never going to get dates, never going to succeed in life. And I don't think that that's fair or true at all. I think that we've lost as a nation in the West. I think we've become so blinded with competition and blinded with winning, blinded with greed and lust and the seeking after wealth, this constant fervor of needing to self-improve, that we've lost wholesome values. We've lost the values of love. We've lost the values of acceptance. We've lost the values of teamwork. We've lost the values of helping others. And we've enthroned the self. We've enthroned the idolization of the hero. I'm the hero. This is why we have somebody, and I use this example often, but this is why we have somebody like Donald Trump, who is so popular to the right, and the right is supposed to be Christians. They're supposed to be reading the Bible, where it talks about how Jesus humbled himself and he refused to be a king in an outward physical way, and he rode into town on a lowly donkey. It's right there in the Gospels. People don't read their Bibles. The conservatives on the right are supposed to be the God-fearing ones. If you're God-fearing, you should read your Bible. What does the Bible say about arrogance? It says pride goes before a fall, right? So somebody like Donald Trump is a perfect representative of what our country, at least the greed of our country. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say everybody in our country is corrupted with greed or corrupted with arrogance or selfishness, but I think that it's a real big problem. I know there's still good people out there. I know there's still humble people out there. But the culture and the current trend of our society has become cutthroat, extremely arrogant, extremely selfish. And as I said, I believe Donald Trump is a great example of that. I'm not picking on the right or picking on Donald Trump. I'm not a liberal. I don't like the left. In fact, I like the left a lot less then I like the right, and I'm not partisan. I don't go either way. If I had to choose one, I'd choose the right because at least they have traditional values. At least they have some semblance of seeking after God and putting God first, which is better than degenerate atheism. But even the right, when it comes to wealth and when it comes to riches and money and when it comes to the arrogance and pride of this world, they're very much representative and represented by Donald Trump. He's a perfect representative of the worst of our country. And unfortunately, he's a Republican. And unfortunately, many Republicans back him. And I could never, because it's, you can't have somebody who's so arrogant, so divisive, so brash, so unapologetically rude, right? As the leader in chief, it's uncomely. It's shameful. Internationally, it's shameful. Now, is somebody like Biden? Is he better? No, he's not better necessarily. I mean, there's corruption in that family as well, and the guy's geriatric practically, and it's horrible. Our country needs prayer. We need to pray for our leaders. We need to pray for our government. But it's failing. It's a failing system, and I say this because there's so many young men out there who are caught up in this self-improvement hamster wheel, and it's not that maybe hamster wheel's too harsh, because it's not that there's not gain. It's not that you can't gain anything from it. It's not that you hit the gym and you see results. You eat better and you see results. And I would wish that on everybody. But a lot of times guys can get depressed and anxious because if you don't start off really good looking, if you don't, there's a difference between somebody who's like good looking and yet they're out of shape, and then they get in shape and it's like, wow, what an improvement. And then somebody who's like, well, you were never good looking to begin with, now you're in shape, and it's like, okay, it's better, it's nicer, but it's still not, because there's only so much you can do. No, I'm not trying to dissuade anyone from getting in good shape, and I'm not saying that you can't become more attractive by getting in good shape. You can, but there's perspectives and there's nuances and there's gray area, and you got to take all that into account. So don't think, oh, I watched this video on YouTube and it says I need to get in really good shape and then I'll get all the girls, and that's what I'm trying to do, and then you starve yourself, or you take steroids, or you hurt yourself in the gym, or you just are depressed and dejected because it's not working in 6 months, because really it takes 3-4 years to get in great shape naturally. Or if you got better natural ability, it might take a year, it might take 6 to 12 months, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in 30 days. Okay. I think we're too hard on our men and we give our women a pass. We're too hard on our men and we give our women a pass, and it's causing problems at both ends. Men are stressed, depressed, sad, and women themselves are stressed, depressed, sad because they're sitting around waiting for this Uber Chad, this amazing guy who does everything perfect and knows her emotions before she has them, and is rich and flies her around the country. All these insane standards that women have, and men are trying to meet those standards. And then you have men in the manosphere who are saying, oh, guys need to level up, guys need to improve. And I'm not saying guys don't. I'm not saying that men don't need to improve. I'm not saying that it wouldn't do you good to lose 15 pounds. I'm not saying it wouldn't do you good to make more money. I'm not saying it wouldn't do you good to dress better or cut your hair or have better hygiene. These are all good things in and of themselves. What I'm talking about is the stress, the pressure, the feelings of inadequacy, I'm not good enough, low self-esteem type feelings that men have when they are putting themselves under this type of microscope, right? They're putting themselves under this type of pressure to perform. And men have always had the burden of performance financially, in a family, in society. We've always had to put our money where our mouth is. We can't just coast by on our looks. We can't coast by on our gender. We don't get a free pass for anything, but women do, you see? And so my point is that it takes a village to raise somebody, not just your parents. And it does start in the household. Yes, your parents as well. And so we have parents who are failing their daughters by not giving them perspective, by not giving them character, by not teaching them how to love, teaching them how to have self-respect, how to have morals, right? How to have a good character, how to work hard in the right ways. I'm not saying teach your daughter to be a feminist and compete with men necessarily, but it does women well to read and to improve their intellect, and does women well. And I'm all for education. I'm all for improvement for everyone, men and women. But how many parents are teaching their daughters, morals, how to stay pure, not be a degenerate, not be promiscuous, treat their the man in their life right, and hopefully get married at a young age? I don't think many anymore. Because if they did, then the women of today would have to be rebellious in order to do what they do. I think a lot of the reason women today excuse me. Pardon me. I think a lot of the reason women today do what they do is because they haven't had any discipline. They haven't had any demands put on them. I don't think their parents tell them you shouldn't be promiscuous. I don't think that's a thing anymore, as much as it used to be, at least. Right? I don't think they even understand. The only time they're getting negative feedback with regards to promiscuity is when men don't like it. This is why women are always trying to negotiate and argue and shout down men who don't want a woman with like a high body count, for instance. What that means is that there's no guidance from the home. It should start in the home, and then it goes out to the village. Starts in the home. You get character, proper upbringing in the home, and then you get the interaction with the village, people outside of your home. And if you get the proper upbringing in the home, then you are able to discern what's going on outside of the home, and you're able to be like, this is right, this is wrong, this is the path I need to walk, this is this other path I need to stay away from. I need to not do what all my friends are doing, and this, that, and the third. And then you also have to teach the child to have resolve and how to have character and say no and stand up for themselves and stand up for what's right. This is a very hard process. Yes, I'll give it that. But I don't even think these parents are trying anymore. This is the problem when you go away from God. This is the problem when you go away from morals. This is the problem when you have something like second wave feminism, which removed the social stigma for promiscuity, for sleeping around. This is the result. So I think it starts with the parents, and I'm saying the reason why I say the daughters is because, men too, absolutely men as well. Men need to have the right character in the home. Men need to be taught how to know the difference between right and wrong, how to know the difference between, choosing the right path and choosing the wrong path, how to have resolve and how to be moral, things like this. Men need it too. We all need these things. But I say from the daughters because men already have a burden of performance. Men already have a heavy burden on their shoulders to care for the family, to be competent in life so they can get a woman. But what do the women have to do? All they have to do is sit around and pick the winner, and they're not given any moral teaching. So they just, well, I can sleep around until I find the guy who has the money and the resources that I want. And this is why a lot of women are getting passed up. This is why a lot of women are getting overlooked and used and abused and discarded. Because we're not instilling this in our daughters. How do we love one man? You find the right one at a young age and then you get married. You don't go sleep with a bunch of people until you're age 25 or 30 or 35, and then I settle down with the guy who's the nice docile guy who's got the money. Right? That's a horrible example of how to get into a relationship. That's a horrible example of how to find love. Right? And a lot of women are just attracted to the guys who are successful, and this does play into female hypergamy. It really does. And that's a poor example of how to get into a relationship, which is why divorce is at 50%. People are totally overlooking and undermining the, I'm not sure if undermining is the right word, but they're overlooking the fundamental intrinsic foundation of a relationship, which is the pair bond, which is the love bond. And the chemistry, not just physical chemistry, intellectual chemistry, emotional chemistry, right? Attraction. They're overlooking that. Oh, you're attracted to his success. Really? Well, that means you're attracted to something that's not really part of his personality or part of his character. Eventually, accolades, accomplishments, these things dwindle, and you're going to grow old with this person, and then and what's left is the guy's personality. What's left is the woman's personality. What's left is how do you gel well together. This is why there's a lot of loveless relationships, loveless marriages, where there's no spark, there's nothing exciting going on. It's just a dead relationship. It's a dead air. There's dead vibes in that marriage. Who's teaching this? You know? I'd almost say it's harmful to teach that all you need as a man is to have money and resources and accomplishments. And I'd say it's harmful to teach a daughter that you just need to go find a guy who can take care of you financially. And so many parents do this. So many parents just they totally either just ignore or don't even think about teaching their daughters, how to really bond with a man, how to really love a man, treat a man well, and find a quality man. It's all the emphasis is on what he does for work. All the emphasis is on his career. All the emphasis is on how much money he makes. So what does that tell the daughter? Well, I just got to go find a guy who makes good money. She doesn't know anything else. And this is what I call a transactional relationship, or a conditional relationship, right? He buys the woman, she sells herself, and then you have an exchange of resources or an exchange of whatever he has whatever materialistic good, whether it's fame or accomplishments or resources. I mean, obviously resources is a given, but all these things are an exchange or transactional for her intimacy, for her quote unquote love, and particularly for her sex, right? Her physical her physical goods that she's selling. This is why in past podcasts I've said women are they've turned themselves into products. They're selling themselves. And what are they selling themselves for? The guy's accomplishments, his fame, his money, his resources. This is why guys are trying so hard to be great at sports, trying so hard to become rich, trying so hard to get a reputation, become famous, because that's what women want. It gets them women. There's a transactional, there's a earning, quote unquote, or a buying of intimacy here, buying of sex, buying of dates, buying of love, with, hey, I did this and I did that. I'm trying to impress her. You know, this is base nature. This is base biology. This is animalistic. Whatever happened to, oh, hey, I'm just really attracted to this guy because he's got a great personality, or he's got a great sense of humor, and he's funny, and I just really like him, and he's so down to earth, and he's real, and he's genuine. Like, whatever happened to that? Right? So if you really understand what a relationship is, you know, all these outward things, these materialistic things, they don't really matter. Really. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't matter in any sense of the word. There's something to be said for having a, accomplishments, having money, having resources. Those things help in life. I'm not saying that those things don't mean anything per se, but they don't make or break a relationship. Or excuse me, they don't make or break love. Many people get into relationships because the guy has resources, the woman is attractive. Transactional relationships happens all the time, very common. But how many relationships happen just on the foundation of love, just on, like, I love this person, they're very attractive, they have a great personality, and that's it. And it's not, oh, his money or his accomplishments, da 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 da. It's nice to have money. It's nice to have, be in shape and have accomplishments and things like that, right? But when it comes to real love, it's not. It shouldn't be part of the process. I'm not saying it can't be in the ingredients per se, because yeah, you got to make a living. You gotta figure out a place to live. Life costs money. That's understandable. But when the woman starts sizing it up, and, well, this guy's got this kind of car, this guy's got this kind of bank account, this guy's got this kind of career, this guy's got this house, or this guy can do this for me, this for me, this for me. That's when you just get lost in the sauce. The plot at that point is just lost. It's you've lost the plot at that point. And so many, and I would say particularly younger women, because the older they get, the more down to earth they become, the more humble they become, the closer they get to the wall, the more realistic they become, and they start to settle. They start to erase things, erase standards and demands from their list of things that as older they get. But the sad part is, when the older they get, the more used they become. The more they've dated around, the more sex they've had, the more they're emotionally damaged, the more they're jaded, the more they're stuck in their ways. And then, as they age, they just get less and less and less viable for a quality man, for a quality relationship. Because you get used. When you get into a relationship, you invest. You invest your physicality, you invest your emotions, you invest your chi, so to speak, right? Your energy and your inner, and your hopes and your dreams are somewhere in there entwined. You're hoping that this guy's going to work out, and you're dreaming of a life with him. And it doesn't. And then it doesn't with this guy, and it doesn't with that guy, it doesn't with that guy, it doesn't with this guy. And then you start, and there's no self-reflection, and you realize, well, these guys are just using me, or I'm this or that. And this is why you get women who get jaded and start hating men, and toxic and unrealistic, because well, I should say because they're not because they're not realistic, because they have unrealistic demands of what they want in a man. It's part of the reason, right? The other reason is they're not looking for the right things in the right way at the right time. They're not taught how to look for quality, a man who really wants to love them and who's really a quality human being. They just want bad boys until they're 25 years old, and by that time they've been used, and then they start to look for other traits, and then they get into this relationship and that relationship, and by the time they're 35, they've got a body count over 100 and slept with over 100 guys, and been in 20, 30 relationships, and didn't work out for this reason and that reason and that reason. You got this fling and that hookup and this and that and that, and then that's becoming the average now, right? but whatever happened to the thought? Well, I'm gonna wait until marriage. I'm gonna wait until I find the right guy, and I might go on some dates. I might get into maybe a couple relationships that almost work out. But I would say after about 2 or 3, I'd say between 2 and 4. After 4, you're pushing it, because it shouldn't take more than 4 guys to find love. And some people are like, oh, that's ridiculous. Well, it shouldn't. And here's the other thing: is if you're not you shouldn't be sleeping with these guys. If you're sleeping with these guys, then chemicals are being released in your brain that cause you to create a bond with this guy. There's a connection there, a soul tie, if you will. Soul ties are real. A physical connection, certain chemicals are being released when you're having sex with a guy. That's real. That happens, right? So that you've done that with 4 guys, your emotion, you've given away parts of your soul, parts of your heart, your emotion. This is why guys say, I don't want a used woman. I don't want a woman who's been used, because it's not just her physicality that's been used. It's also her emotions, her mentality, her hopes and her dreams. All these things this is a damaged woman who's been in so many relationships, and guys too. I think it does that to guys too, just not quite in the same way, not quite as harsh as with women, because women are emotionally based. Guys are more visual, and guys are more mental, but it can mess up our mental. Whereas a woman can get damaged emotions, a guy can get damaged mental. He can become very depressed when it doesn't work out with certain women. For years and years. So we have the wrong we're looking for the wrong things, particularly when it comes to women, how women choose men. It's the wrong things. So wrong. It's like we're not teaching our daughters how to look for men who really love them, men who want to put them first, and we've got all these weird standards and these weird hoops that men have to jump through, all these weird social norms, such as, oh, I got to take her on a date, buy her flowers. There's all this pressure on men, and women use that to their advantage to get free stuff, and they use it as a power trip, right? They use it as leverage to, be narcissistic, get attention, right? Validation, self-esteem, right? And this is a trap that many women fall into, which doesn't really help them at all. It ultimately just prolongs their maturity. It ultimately just keeps them immature and childish and narcissistic, which is just, who wants to date a narcissistic female? Nobody. Is it going to help their relationship? Absolutely not. The more her ego is built up, the more her narcissism, her arrogance, because, oh, I'm pretty and all the guys want to have sex with me and all the guys want to marry me and I'm just a diva and It's ruining our women. These aren't quality mothers. These women aren't going to be quality mothers. They're not going to be quality wives. You got to deal with layers and layers of arrogance and narcissism and selfishness. They're not fit for a relationship. And some of them are just irreparably damaged. Just so damaged. And I've talked to many of them who are just so, so damaged. And it's sad, man. Very, very sad. And it starts with the parents, I think. You know, it's very sad. I guess education, we need better, but we live in a gynocentric society where anybody tries to say anything to help women or to educate them, they're attacked and they're treated as an enemy. You try to ask a woman to have self accountability and realize that men don't want highly used women, that men don't want arrogant, promiscuous, narcissistic women. That's not what men want. Men want a woman who's mature in her morality. Men want a woman who's mature in her, her ability to treat a man right, which has to do with humbleness and kindness. And is she accommodating? Is she helpful? Is she thoughtful? Is she kind? Is she loving towards a man? How many women are like that? They're selfish black holes. How can we date something like that? How can we marry something like that? Who would want to put a ring on that and make her a mother? You raise children. How's she going to raise her children? Your children are going to be arrogant. Your children are going to be bad kids, and they're going to grow up, in a bad world with bad people. And this is why so much is going on in the world today. Part of it, so much negativity, so much hurt, so much trauma and pain, and all this stuff that goes on, which we need to stop. We need to roll back, quell it. And it starts with discipline. It starts with character. It starts with proper training, training in righteousness, the difference between right and wrong, how to behave, how to act. This is very, very important. It starts in childhood. This is why you have so many adults running around out here who've never matured, who've never grown up, who never take accountability, never take responsibility, never realize that they're the problem, never know how to treat other people right, particularly in a relationship. Very sad, very sad. And we need to do better. And so this whole idea that it's all on the men, oh, the men just need to improve, the men, this focus is just sick. It's sad. It's sad that that's what the manosphere has become. And even the red pill, a lot of it has become this is, oh, the guy just needs to get better, and then he'll get a better woman, he'll get a better quality woman. No, he might get a more attractive physically woman. He might get a woman who's maybe more educated at best, maybe she's more attractive, but that doesn't mean she's got a good character necessarily. That doesn't mean that she knows the difference between right and wrong necessarily. That doesn't mean that she's a moral person necessarily. That doesn't mean that she's not highly used necessarily. Just because she's more attractive and she's educated doesn't mean any of those things. I'll take a woman who's moral, who's got a low body count, who knows how to treat me, who's kind and loving, and she doesn't have a college degree, over a woman who does have a college degree and she's promiscuous any day of the week. Any day of the week, I'll take that other woman. Any day of the week, I'll take the woman who's not educated but who's moral, knows how to treat a man, is loving, has a low body count. I'll take that over any day of the week, over any educated woman who's promiscuous. There's no comparison. There's no comparison. And that's where guys need to improve, is in our choosing. And if it means you got to stay single, then stay single. If it means you got to, Not settle. Don't settle. Don't settle for something that's less than what you deserve. You deserve a quality woman with a low body count, who's got a good head on her shoulders, who will be a good mother, who's righteous, who practices righteousness, right? Every man deserves that. And no, you don't have to earn it. No, you don't have to buy that. That's fictitious. And if it's not there, then you stay single and you don't settle, because it's not worth it. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Appreciate you guys listening. It's been Jay Lee with Northwest Podcast. Peace.